Hello and welcome to Lockdown Beers here on Friday. Yes, the weekend has arrived, or it will do in about 45 seconds, at which point we can crack open the beers dead on 5. That's right, I'm on the Export Gold again today. We'll crack that open, as I say, at 5 o'clock on the dot in just 35 seconds. Wow, what are we going to talk about today? Well, there's quite a lot, actually. We've got a new sponsor for the All Blacks and all the teams in black. World Club Cup to talk about, King Kane, or Sunkane playing for King Country at least. We've got some news about Rassie. We've got some predictions for the weekend, and also the Fijian Drua have announced some players as well. So it's a packed lockdown beers and rugby chat today. So folks, hope you're all keeping safe. I hope you're all following the rules and getting vaccinated as well. I get my second jab tomorrow. And yes, 58, 59. There we go. It is 5 o'clock, folks. Close those work applications for the weekend and start winding down because, yes, the weekend is here. Let's stop that work. Let's leave the gas in the glass. There we go. Don't want to be burping too much. And welcome Mr. Stephen Harris onto the show as he drinks tea. How you doing, sir?
Yeah, not a lot of gas in this tea pool, but good to be on the show. Had to push it a little bit to get here, but hey, made it. It's the end of the week.
Yep. Got your work done for the week. Fantastic to see. And there you are in your Northland cap. Unfortunately, no rugby for Northland this weekend and no rugby for Auckland either. But hey, folks, up in the 09, look, I know you're doing it hard, but hey, I'm with you. I've got my Auckland jersey on today for you all. We've got the North Harbour jersey up there as well in the background. I don't have a counties jersey, but I can do with one because obviously they're all now out of the NPC. But you never know. We might be able to have a Super City Cup. But more on that in the future as we're allowed to do more things, hopefully, he says. So, folks, get vaccinated. Then we can do more. Do it for your whānau, do it for your family, do it for your country, all of that stuff. So there we go. Stephen, how you been keeping? You all nice and safe?
Yeah, no, pretty good. Out and about today. I must admit, I went out to the 09 is quite a big city, so I went out to the other side of Auckland today to do a couple of jobs out towards Howick. That's in the eastern suburbs of Auckland. Must admit, I hadn't been into that area for a few years, but listen, it was just good to get out and about, doing a little bit of work out in the marketplace and sticking to the rules, etc. But yeah.
Good boy, sticking to the rules there. Apparently, the Wallabies touring squad has been named. Sorry, Joshua, I've not seen that, so we'll have a look at that tomorrow. That one. Yeah, Joshua, you're quite right. All the Auckland players and staff had got vaccinated, but no go, unfortunately. But hey, we'll move on from that story because it is what it is, and there's not much we can do about it now, to be honest. So, the World Club Cup. Have you seen that? Apparently, as the head of European rugby stepped down. He talked about it, and also the Highlanders come out and say they're excited about the idea of a World Club Cup in 2024. Wow! I'm not sure how this is going to fit into the calendar, but and how this fits with player welfare, playing more rugby for our top players, because I can hardly see it being a Highlanders without or Crusaders without their All Blacks taking part in that sort of thing. I'm a bit dubious about this one. I think international rugby is for international teams. I'm not a big World Club Cup thing. What's your views on this one?
Yeah, well, you pretty much hit it on the head at the start, Paul. Where do we find time? We're already we've had enough issues trying to put together a full year-round season that everybody's pretty much aligned in the same stars. So let's go and chuck something else in there. In the mix as well to go along with rugby 12s. Now we've got World Club Championship. I did see an article on Stuff, and it was with the former chief executive for the Highlanders, Roger Clark, and he basically has come out and said that, listen, he's pretty excited about it, and he thinks there's some serious horsepower behind it as well. So obviously, that spells money, and sometimes money at the end of the day can just overlap even the worst ideas in the whirlpool.
Well, yeah, Clark says, I think they're hoping that seasons will align in 2024. At the moment, they don't. They don't, do they? And I'm not quite sure why. they suddenly think that it'll all get fixed in 3 years' time, when there's zero talk from anybody about aligning calendars. But there you go, folks. Who knows what may be going on behind the scenes in all this? Because let's be honest, rugby is known for its transparency. We know all the things that have been discussed, don't we, folks? Not. So yes. I don't think Stephen Clark is apparently, yes, as Josh said, has Stephen removed Roger Clark from the Highlanders. I don't think he's former. I think he's current Highlanders person. So,
yeah, I stand to be corrected there. Yep. Like I said, that's how much the article actually captured me, that I didn't read it properly.
The reviewer says, well, one-off fixture between the best club in each hemisphere each year, that could work. Yeah, they're not talking about that. They're talking about also including Japan and all the other teams. So who knows what
actually,
Paul,
I might have got my wires crossed, and I think I was probably thinking more along the lines of the departing European professional club chairman Simon Halliday, who's definitely departing his post.
That's right. But look, it's I think unless you've got an aligned season, it's a non-starter. And the more we try and cram in for our top players to be playing, to me, that's just more damaging for them. I mean, at which point, where does player welfare fit in with this? The only competition in the world that seems to have made any concessions to player welfare or to this kind of thing is the United Rugby Championship, which actually will be playing less games or less rounds than the Pro 14 was. So at least they're heading in the right direction. Everybody else seems to be getting more games. As I pointed out the other day, the All Blacks are going to play more test matches this year than they've ever done before, equaling their record sorry, that's not quite true. So they're going to be playing the record number of test matches this year, equaling the record they set in 2008. So yes, interesting for that one. And so it'll be interesting which hemisphere moves into summer. Well, look, at the moment, if we look at how the seasons are, look at what games we have. So basically, we have domestic competitions in Europe, which have basically just kicked off. So they kick off in September, October time. They all kick off in September, and they'll run through until basically June, because the international window opens in July, and then where we have our summer, our mid-year tours, and then you have after that the Rugby Championship, and then obviously the November tours. Now, the Super Rugby kicks off in January, February, and runs through until June. At the same time, so it starts much later, but it finishes at the same time as European domestic competitions do. So in theory, if you could get them both to just finish a few weeks early, you could use that June window as your all the teams would be coming off the end of their season, so they'd be equally from a strength and conditioning and from a preparedness point of view, they'd be about the same. So that's where it sits. The question then is, how do you get everyone just to finish 4 weeks early so you can fit this in? So we'll have to wait and see. But that is pretty much how they're going to try and fit it in on that one. Sunkane will be playing for King Country. There's a bit of a concern there that the extension of the Waikato level 3 area would have stopped it. But luckily enough, the game's in Taupo, which is outside that region, and King Country are losing 4 players to calving because their calves need feeding and they can't find anyone else to do it, and that sticks them inside the level 3 area. But King Country can get 22 players, folks, from the match day 22. So the game is going ahead. That's got to be good news, Stephen.
Oh, absolutely. And listen, it's almost like probably the real winner, and it's all about being geographically in the right place. It's been Heartland Rugby, because it's just trucked along seamlessly. So it's given rugby at that. If you're not getting your fix of rugby, it's a good opportunity. If you're in one of the bigger centres, like for example in Wellington, and you want to see some extra quality rugby, just shoot up the road to Horowhenua or somebody like that. Or probably a better analogy is maybe Counties Manukau, if you wanted to pop down the road and watch Thames Valley play. That's the hub down there, isn't it, Paul?
It might be, but don't leave Counties Manukau and cross the border.
No, sorry,
Stephen. Oh, dear me, here you are promoting promoting the spread of the. Oh dear,
sorry,
no, bad boy.
sorry, lost the plot there a little bit. I do apologise. All these.
Anyway, so look, folks, watch it on the telly.
I was going to
Now,
say
this is where I'm about to have another rant about New Zealand rugby and their inability to.
I was going to say, Paul, just before you do, all the thoughts of the guests of NZ Sport Radio are not necessarily the thoughts of the station themselves. Just thought I'd better get that in.
Yes, exactly. So, folks, South Canterbury looking very good in the Heartland Championship. I'll be honest with you, you're following it closer than I am. But yes, they did have a big win over King Country last weekend, I think it was. King Country is on Sky Sports 2 this week. Absolutely, it is. That's right. So Sam Cane, the All Blacks captain, will be playing his first ever game in Heartland Rugby, and it will be on TV at the same time as the Farah Palmer Cup Premiership Championship game. Because you know what? We're trying to promote women's rugby. Right. Okay.
Rent time.
Seriously, New Zealand rugby, your scheduling is poor, to say the very least. Putting Sam Cane in a game that we all want to watch and putting it on at the same time as the Farah Palmer Cup Premiership Championship game between Canterbury and Waikato is a bit silly, let's be honest. There's plenty of time on Sunday to play that game. So why didn't you put the Farah Palmer Cup on Sunday? I understand the King Country boys might find it difficult to change to Sunday because there's a lot of amateur players in there, but the Waikato girls have already flown down to Canterbury. Would it be any different flying back Monday rather than Sunday at the end of the day? So, look, New Zealand Rugby again saying they're trying to promote women's rugby, but they've withdrawn 14 or 15? I think, sorry, 15 Black Ferns from the Farah Palmer Cup Premiership Championship. So we've got 15 of the best players missing. That's the whole side. You've also gone and put it against Sam Cane playing his first ever Heartland Championship game as the All Blacks captain, one of the most important players in the country. It just does my head in. They just can't think about these sort of things on that side of things. So yeah, annoying, but it is what it is. I'll be trying to watch the Farah Palmer Cup Championship, so I'm going to miss Farah Palmer Cup Premiership final, so I'm going to miss Sam Cane's game. But I'm sure somebody on the New Zealand Sport Radio guests will be watching the Sam Cane game, and we'll be able to bring you some reports as to how it goes on that one. World Rugby is not much better than New Zealand Rugby, because you know what? We've finally got a date for Rassie's hearing, and it is at the end of October from memory. Look it up. Yeah, October 30th and 31st. Jeez, I mean, for a game that was played back in July, for an offence that happened in July or August or early August. I think it was July, end of July, and it's going to take them until the end of October to sit down and talk about it. What a farce! Seriously. Whatever your view is on what Rassie did, whether it's good or bad, taking this long over deciding it is a joke. So, yeah, World Rugby moves at a glacial pace, unfortunately. And everyone will have forgotten about the video by the time it gets around to talking. And all you're going to do is just bring the video back to life and give it more publicity. I think is, poor. Anyway.
I agree. They could have killed it very, very quickly. And unfortunately, Paul, it's opened the doors for a lot of comment, a lot of conjecture. And, to me, the game could do without it in the same way we can do without basically people who are not involved with the actual playing of the game on field, handing out advice to officials. Really interesting. I'm very good friends with a very good club referee here in Auckland, and I had a good chat to him I asked him what he thought about meeting with teams before the kickoff, maybe talking about scrum engagement, cadence, little things like that. And he said, mate, they should just do away with that. It is what it is. I don't think even pre-games that captains or coaches should be speaking to officials. we see these officials on television all the time, so we've got a fair idea how they actually referee the game or officiate the game. So I don't think there's a need to actually meet with them at the beginning of the game. These guys are professional rugby players. If you're having an issue with the official, I don't think there's any reason why you can't get an official into one of your training sessions and go over some, maybe some pointers, or if there's some issues that you're having within something that you're actually doing during the game to actually sort out at that time. I want to see rugby go away from that, Paul.
Yeah, I mean, the two separate hour-long interviews with the head coach and stuff. Sure, I think the 5 or 10 minutes after the toss, where the referee tells the captains a few things, I think that's worth it and that's worthwhile. Just like you're getting community rugby, where you have the toss. The referee says, "Look, captains, I don't want any of this, and this. Go and tell your players. We'll kick off in 10 minutes," kind of thing. That kind of stuff I think is okay. But as you say, yeah, an hour with each head coach and their entire legal team saying, "Please, can you look for this? Please, can you look for that? Please, can you give me an explanation as to around this?" Jesus, no.
Yeah.
Maybe you can have a once a week where all the international coaches get on with the head of world refereeing, and he goes, "Right, folks, over the last week there were these controversial calls, and this is our answers as a group." And that's a video that goes out to all top head coaches, something like that. But that's where he tells them, rather than they kind of, and they can ask, maybe send in certain questions that he answers, but try to drill it all seems a bit over the top. Simon asks if the Farah Palmer Cup game is on Prime. I don't know, because I've got Sky now. I don't have Prime because I don't have a TV in Ariel. So I only ever watch the Sky Sports channel. So I don't know. Sorry about that. So anyway, that's the Rassie date. The Fiji and Drua have announced their next round of players, Stephen, and at least one that you know a little bit about.
Yeah, Kaliopasi Ulilapeka, who came north earlier in the year, can play on the tight head side of the scrum. Former New Zealand under-20s, but before he did, he actually played for the Fijian under-18s, and back then he was a very good size for a prop, round about that sort of mid 125 kgs, but in the last 3 years has ballooned out a wee bit. But listen, it's just great to see that he's got himself back into reasonable shape, and obviously just done enough to impress the Fijian coaching staff. So fantastic, and full credit to Kaliopasi. It's probably some images that I won't share on NZ Sport Radio, but they were out there in the on one of the social networks, Instagram, and it showed that he's dropped a considerable amount of weight. So listen, I think it can only be good for him, Paul. Hopefully he'll get himself back into the body shape that he was maybe 2 or 3 seasons ago. I'm not expecting him to get in that exact shape, but he's a really, really good, skillful ball player, and he could be the sort of player who could turn into a Charlie Faumuina like prop with that sort of skill set.
Fantastic stats. See him there. He's 22 and adds another youthful element, and that's going to be. I'm just going to run through the other players then. Apasomi Vota, who's 25, who's a centre, has played again, was part of the Global Rapid Rugby Fiji Latui, and has also played for Fiji and Drua, part of the NRC. Kitoni Talinga, 28, who is a Olympic gold medalist from Rio, not from Japan, which is interesting. So he's the only older one there, 28. I think his experience is going to be much needed as a fly half fullback. Also, Ayasa Nasilia, who's again 22, who's a lock. We're looking at a very young squad here, folks. So they're going to need some experienced heads around them. An under 20 Fijian player, and then finally, 2 more. Rusiati Nazova is a flanker, 25, being part of the Fijian Sevens, and also part of the Drua in the NRC. And then finally, Ratu Leone Rotasiolia is a 23-year-old second rower from Australia. Played a lot of, but has played Fiji and under 20s as well. But played over at in Sydney University, so a bit of shoot shield experience there with that one. So,
and I was going to say successful too. He's holding the shoot shield up as well. Listen, Paul, I think it's going to be a great thing for obviously not just Moana Pacifica, but also Fiji Drua as well, because usually the complaint in the past, they never got to play against quality opposition all the time. All of a sudden, you're going to get a group playing week in, week out, quality football, regardless of the results. And man, I'm super excited to watch these guys, because we have a fair idea in terms of how they're going to play. And if they can make this crop or this group better players, sure, we're not expecting a heck of a lot in the first year, but I just sense collectively, if these guys can improve, oh boy, once they do return home to maybe play in Suva, playing in their conditions up in Suva, I'll tell you what, I can see some big headaches for some New Zealand and Australian Super Rugby teams if they have to travel up there to the islands. That is.
Yeah, and look, it's I think we've got 22 players now, folks, and I've not seen one European-based player named in the Fiji Drua so far. Okay, so look, this is not going to be like the Jaguares, who are effectively the Argentinian national team. This is basically, I say, it's players who are already based down here playing rugby. Quite a lot of youngsters involved in that. Quite a few sevens players involved in that. I think we've had one or two sevens players announced in every single one of the 4 waves of players we've had so far. So it's going to be a young and experienced side first up. Yes, they're going to throw it around. Yes, it's going to be exciting, but also expect a lot of frustration from some of these players. I've got a funny feeling discipline is going to be a bit of an issue when they get behind and they're in the second half and they've been ground down by a Crusaders pack or something, or a Blues pack. It's going to be a bit similar to how we've seen the national team play a few times as well.
Yeah, but I'll tell you what, they will be a highlights reel at the end of the season, because I'd bet you dollars. I bet you dollars to donuts. So, regardless of what that highlights reel looks like, there'll be some amazing try. And Mick Byrne, with his set of skills that he brings to a team, could be the ideal person for this particular team, especially if he can gel with these boys.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, Simon's a bit worried about how long people have patience with them as they're losing. No, absolutely, we'll have to see that. But look, I mean, the Jaguares lost for the first couple of years, but end up being Super Rugby finalists like about year 4 or 5. So, and we stuck with them, didn't we? We didn't stuck with the Sunwolves because they weren't improving, because they ended up replacing their squad every year.
On saying that, Paul, that first 2 years they struggled, but boy, every now and again they came up with the magical wins. I remember that the Blues heading up to it might have been Tokyo, having an embarrassing loss up that was either in Tokyo or Singapore, having an embarrassing loss, and
that
also
was in Tokyo, but they flew up there via Samoa or Fiji. They spent the week before on the beach. I mean, that game was.
Well, that's not the Sunwolves' fault. That's more.
No, that was the Blues.
That was the Blues preparation. But I can also remember a victory that they had over the Chiefs at Waikato Stadium. So, if you got time and you got consistency, but I think that they were also sort of affected when they had players pulled out for the Japanese squad. A lot of the Japanese players were pulled out during, I think, 2015. I think it was. So it just made it difficult, and all of a sudden they were going into their reserves. And especially when they travelled, they took a lot of tap on the road, if I can recall. So just give it time. And these guys, I'll tell you what, that's probably a little catch cry for them, Paul, that you mentioned before, and you said it by mistake. Expect the unexpected.
Yep. Well, Joshua Scott said, will the Drua be able to hang on to their best players when Europe shows an interest after they play in their first year? Look, the Fijian Drua are looking at paying Super Rugby rates for their players. So they're getting paid comparable amounts to the New Zealand Super Rugby franchises and also the Australian Super Rugby franchises. They're playing that kind of money rate. So players will be able to get paid more playing in Europe. Hence why we're seeing those players not coming back from Europe. Now, will all the best players go to Europe and Japan? No, some of them will actually go, you know what? I'm earning a decent living, and I'm actually at home. And especially after year 2, when they can actually live in Fiji and play. Whereas in the first year, obviously, they're having to live in Australia and play. So again, away from far now. But in future, when they can live in Fiji, earn what will be a very good wage for Fiji, I would expect. And still be and not have to be away from wives, children, etc. Then I can see it being, yes. Will they lose some players? Absolutely, they will. Players that want players will have to make a lifestyle choice. So we'll just have to wait and see how quickly that drain is and how many players they lose each year. I think quite a few of the Super Rugby franchises in New Zealand don't realise it, but lose about 25 to 30% of their players every year. Right, so there is quite a big turnover in New Zealand teams that people don't necessarily appreciate.
That's a really good point, Paul. A lot of sometimes we look out for the big ticket names that end up in either Japan or Europe, but there's a lot of players that actually head over to the Major League Rugby as well. So, and they may not be top. They may not be your top draw players, but they are guys that are part of NPC development squads. So your next tier of guys that basically head into that level of rugby. There's also other places that they head to. Spain. I know there's a lot of Kiwis playing rugby up in Spain, like not your top level guys, but guys who basically feed the better teams.
Yep. So we'll see, but I think that they'll do as well as quite a lot of the Australian, New Zealand teams. Now, no, actually, no, that's not true. They won't keep their top level players because they will go like Semi Red Rider. They'll go, but I think they'll be able to. It's not. We'll only learn and see, but it's the opportunity to earn a living playing at home.
Paul, I was going to say the other side of it. There'll be Fijian players who are currently playing in Europe. They might be coming to the end of their contracts, or they might be just homesick. And I think they'll be watching the side with a lot of interest, just to see how the side performs, because it might be an opportunity for those players to actually find their way back to Fiji. I think there'll be a real brotherhood in this side because they are predominantly a Fijian Pacific Island side, and I think you'll see that same brotherhood in Moana Pacifica. So when the heat goes on, I've no doubt these guys will play for each other.
I think what we'll see actually here is whilst yes, overseas players will look at how the players are, how the team does, but what they will also be doing a lot is keeping in touch with those players and seeing how they're treated. Do they get paid? Is their training kit stolen by by members of the Fijian Union who come around and watch the team? This kind of stuff. If that kind of stuff is going on, they're not going to come back and play for it, right? If though it does become a properly separate entity from the Fijian Union, the players are treated properly, they get paid on time, they get paid their full wages, they have a proper high performance environment, then you'll see some players actually go, actually, no, perhaps I will come back. But players who, but if that doesn't happen, then we won't see any players coming back, because if they learn that players aren't getting paid or having their training kit or having to provide their own water bottles, like stories that we've heard previously, then they're not going to come back to be treated that way. Let's be blunt. As the reviewer says, it will increase Fiji's overall squad depth, if nothing else, which is good to see. Very true. Moving on then, and New Zealand Rugby have announced a 6-year sponsorship deal with Tashio Pharmaceutical as a premium global partner, whatever that really means. It's for all of the All Blacks, so the All Blacks, the All Black Sevens, the oh dear me, the Black Ferns, the Black Fern Sevens, the under-20s, etc. Also, they will be the title sponsor of Super Rugby Pacific. Sorry, not Super Rugby Pacific. They'll be title sponsors of the Rugby World Cup 2021, which obviously being played next year here in New Zealand, and Japan, and it'll be called and they're using a Lipovitan D, apparently, which is some sort of energy drink. I think two things here. One is you're not going to see Powerade being drunk at All Blacks games anymore, like we have done in the past, and being sculled on camera in post-match interviews. That'll disappear. Apparently, Lipovitan D or whatever is one of the oldest energy drinks, been around since 1962. There we go. Whatever that means. But I think the other thing we'll see is that they're seeing this as a good way to promote rugby in Japan. So more test matches in Japan for the All Blacks, essentially, because of this. Let's be honest.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No doubt there'd be some horse trading going on behind closed doors. Paul, so Case will watch this space.
Yep. Also, could this be part of the because this company, Toshio Pharmaceutical, also are big sponsors of the Japanese international team. So wouldn't be surprised if we see if this is also part of a move to obviously encourage Japan to be part of the Rugby Championship as well going forwards. Which, let's be honest, I think a lot of us would like to see anyway. So even if it is a bit of a underhand dealing, who cares? Because it's an outcome that we actually want to see. So it is what it is. So 6 years on that one. Good to see the sponsorship, and different energy drink that I've never heard of. So I had no idea. Apparently, it's in 12 different countries. There you go.
Wow, who knew?
Yeah, clearly not me. I'll be honest, I've never seen it on the shelves. But then again, I don't go looking for energy drinks on the shelves, to be honest. I go looking for beer. So if it had been a beer that was a sponsor, I'd have known if it was on the shelves or not. But hey, there we go. Oh dear, silly. Right then, predictions time. I think, unless you've got anything else.
No, that's fine. What do you think? I think we should start with our females.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I've not actually got an actual. I've not. That's not on Super Brew, so I've not actually got a screenshot for that. But okay, so we first up we have Manawatu versus Hawke's Bay in the championship final, and you've got to say Manawatu are looking to be favourites of that one. I think they've earned home advantage on that one, and I think that the other sort of their real true competitor I thought was going to be Northland on last season's form, but perhaps not on this season's form.
And listen, they deserve to. Hawke's Bay Tui deserve to be in the final based on their performance against Northland last week. I wouldn't want to call Northland a one woman team, but when that one woman who they were missing is there, they certainly they grow another leg with the presence of Crystal Murray. But listen, for the Tui to come back after being down at halftime, really impressive. But they come up against a Cyclones team that they lost by 67 points to 12 in the first round, and the Cyclones have shown they are a very organised side. And I think if we think back to last year, I think they were a finalist or semi-finalist, beg your pardon, last year. So they are, to me, they're a premiership side playing in the championship. They'll be far too good for the Tui.
Yeah, no, I think so. I think the Epats are only they beat some. The only problem I think might be is it's kind of how much rugby they've had recently, because obviously Hawke's Bay have had games recently, whereas so there might be a little bit of rustiness around Manawatu, but I think they'll come home and win that one. And then the second game sees Canterbury hosting Waikato. Boy, oh boy, and this is an interesting one. Waikato missing 9 Black Ferns, Canterbury missing 6, but importantly missing Kendra Coxedge in that one. So I'd say 15 Black Ferns missing from this. That didn't hamper Bay of Waikato last weekend when they got through the preliminary final against Wellington. And so yes. I think Waikato could do it this year. Obviously, very close last year, didn't quite make it, but I'm backing Waikato in a close one this time by 3 points against Canterbury. But it's going to be a cracking game, I think.
Yeah, nothing between these two sides. Of course, they played in round 2, Canterbury winning 24 points to 17. And of course, that was a game that could have gone either way. And that was a game where they did have all their Black Ferns running around, probably maybe less the girls who were away at the Sevens Olympics at the time. But hey, you know what? I'm going to go for the home side. Canterbury are so hard to beat down there. And I think, unlucky for Waikato, under this level lockdown, this game I think would have been played in Hamilton. Is that correct, Paul?
No. It always would have been played in Canterbury. They finished higher, but Waikato, look, they've clearly had a bit of. It's been a bit tough for them. Obviously, they had to relocate to Cambridge and then fly down, and obviously they had disrupted preparation. But even so. Now I'm backing Waikato. You're going for Canterbury. We'll see who takes it. Yeah, it should be a cracking game on Saturday.
Okay, we'll put $1. We'll put $1 on that one, and whoever has to put a bet on a weekend bet on, whoever gets that wrong.
Oh dear. Moving on then to the NPC. Now, folks, if you're looking to put money on a game, then for me it's got to be the first game, Wellington versus Canterbury. Because the TAB, when I last looked, had Wellington as favourites. Now, Wellington have only won one game all season, and that was against Northland. So, yeah, I've got Canterbury by 10. I see as being clear winners. Stephen, am I missing something here, or what's?
You are missing. You are. No, I think we're all missing something there, Paul. Because when I, based on Wellington's form, and they will be a little bit stronger, and they'll get a little bit of leadership in terms of Dane Coles coming in for his first game of the season. It's also proving as a fitness test for the I was going to call him a former All Black, but he's not a former All Black. He's still an All Black, but that's offset with Sam Whitelock coming back into the Canterbury team. And boy, on paper, these sides look relatively even, but one area where Wellington has really, really struggled a little bit this year, well, two areas. One has been at scrum time. I would hope that Coles will shore that particular area up, to a reasonable extent. And the other area has just been in and around their discipline, Paul, because I think that single-handedly cost them a couple of really, really close games, and it was there for everybody to see against Bay of Plenty.
So it's the TAB have got Canterbury at $2.05 now. I got in when they were even higher than that with my dollar. Big spend of me. Wellington $1.70 favourites. I just don't get that. Now we're going to shoot through the rest. We've got three more competitions to go through, and if we do this, we'll be here until 7 o'clock, and I'll be hungry and have to find dinner. Hawke's Bay against Tasman. Look, this is game of the weekend. Ranfurly Shield Challenge. Look, I'm going Tasman by 3, 2 times champions. Stephen, you I know you're with the home side. By how many?
Boy, I think it's going to be close. I think the home side by 7.
By 7. That's not close. That's whole score. Wow. The next two, I think, are pretty easy calls. Otago versus Taranaki. Taranaki having a fantastic season, have won all of their games, including games against Premiership teams. So for me, it's Naki by 10. Southland, a team that's also the struggling a little bit, just like Otago is. But Manawatu, again, another team with Aaron Smith, performing well above expectations this year. So I've got Manawatu by 10. I think two pretty comfortable away wins in those two.
Well, I'm gonna go for Taranaki over Otago, despite not having Josh Lord. I still think they're too good a team all round. That'd be some sort of turn up if Otago can turn that around. But for me, I'm going for Southland to bounce back against Manawatu, and that's because it's being played down in Invercargill this weekend. And to be brutally honest, I know that a text that was sent to Dale McLeod, the Southland coach, and he came back and he wasn't pleased. He said they didn't turn up. That's footy. I'm just looking at the weather forecast on Sunday down in Invercargill. Unfortunately, it's going to be sunny, so I was hoping it might be wet conditions.
No.
But you know what? I'm still going to stick my
You're-
head on the block and go for Southland.
You're letting your friendship with your mate there override your decision. The TABs with me, they've got Manawatu at $1.49 and Southland at $2.50. So not that's not happening. Moving on then to the URC, which is I've had a pretty good start to this one with my picks. But Ulster Benetton, I expect Ulster at home to beat the Italians. The Ospreys against the Sharks. Well, look, the Shark. All the South African sides are struggling. So Ospreys with the win there. Leinster. Well, that's going to be a big win against Zebra.
Yeah.
Glasgow against the Lions. The Lions are the only South African team to have won a game so far, but that was against Zebra. So I'm putting back in Glasgow to win that one by 5. Connacht against the Dragons. Look, two teams that generally struggle away from home, and hence Connacht is not an easy place to go to. So a home win there, and then basically the next two it's teams against South African teams who are travelling and struggling. So I'm going for the home teams there, and then finally Munster up against Scarlets. That should be a cracking game actually, but I'm going with the away team. Disagree with any of those calls, Stephen?
The only those South African sides have to basically get a win at some time. I'm actually going to go for the Vodacom Bulls over the Cardiff Blues.
Yeah, that's the most likely of them. I agree. I just don't. I don't know when they'll have their Springboks back. Actually, that would be a good thing to know. But from what I understand, all the Springboks are flying home to South Africa for a couple of days, or for a couple of weeks. Sorry, with family, because they've been away from family since June, and therefore I don't think they'll have their Springboks back until after the November tour. So I think all those South African teams are going to struggle up until December, to be honest with you. But yeah, that's the most likely one to go the other way. Into the Gallagher Premiership, and running through these ones then, Quins, look, champions, going well. Bristol, ever since they've renewed Pat Lamb's contract, have been struggling. So home win there. Exeter Chiefs against Worcester Warriors. Look, Worcester Warriors are one of the teams that will be down the bottom end. Exeter haven't started well, but look, this is time for them to start picking up some wins. Gloucester are struggling. Sale Sharks look a decent side. Might even have some of their Springboks back. Leicester Tigers going well, so I expect them to beat Irish, who'll be down the bottom end. Saracens against Falcons. Saracens seems to have this is their first Saracens home game since getting promoted, so I can see them really being up for that one. And then finally, the Saints have been going well, so I expect them to see off Wasps. Finally, actually we've got Stephen back. So Stephen, anything different in the Gallagher Premiership there?
Yeah, well, I just sort of lost contact with you there. I thought John O'Connor might have hijacked my internet because of his love of English rugby, Paul. So, or his non-love of English rugby. Well, I suppose a surprise for me is Leicester. Real huge turnaround, and they just gathered some really good momentum. I mean, to say they're on that plus 23, which means that they're scoring points at the moment. And they've picked up 2 bonus points on their travels, and of course Bristol. When you're talking about surprises at the other end, they are the big surprise. Listen, I can't see any changes. I think you've pretty much nailed it. I think with Saracens and Newcastle, you're probably a bit conservative there. I would have probably gone by a little bit more for one. But listen, no, I have to agree with everything that you've got down there, Paul.
Yeah, so there you go. I'll put the house on a six game multi then, because Stephen says I've got it right, but maybe not. Finally, we got top 14, and look, top 14 is pretty simple. Essentially, you pick the home team, which is what I've done with all of these. There are no away games there. No away teams there that to me look like upsetting the other side. The only two there that's possible. Look, La Rochelle have struggled this year. And Cast have been decent. Look, La Rochelle made it to the European Champions Cup final, didn't they? Did they win it? I can't remember now. I think they did. So look, they're a very decent side. At some point, they're going to click. So hence I've gone with them. The other one is Stade Francais versus Clermont. Look, Stade Francais up and down, but actually, when you look at it, the only team they've lost to at home has been Racing 92, who are also a Parisian team. So hence, that's not really an away game for the Parisians, whereas all the other teams have to travel and will send up weaker teams. So look, with no Toulouse away game, and they seem to be the only team, and no Racing 92. Those are the two teams that seem to be able to win away. Everyone else seems to struggle. So hence, I've just gone all home teams.
Yeah, no, French rugby. That's usually the best rule of thumb. Go for the home sides, and you'll make some money.
Yep. So there we go. That's the last of our predictions, folks. Let us know if you've got any other, if you disagree or agree. You can always contact us on Twitter at Driving Mall or our Facebook page, New Zealand Sport Radio. Also, we really could do with your support. So head over to patreon.com/NZ Sport Radio to become a supporter of New Zealand Sport Radio. You can become a supporter for as little as $1 a month. And we do really appreciate it. Stephen and I have got some brand new cameras coming through, so hopefully you will see some better pictures in about a month, or sorry, in a couple of weeks or so, hopefully. And that's only possible because of supporters to the channel that we've been able to buy that tech. So please do become supporters. It does mean the absolute world to us. And thank you very much for your time, Stephen. Have a great weekend. Oh, sorry, folks. Just last reminder, we won't be here tomorrow at 5 p.m. because there is a Ranfurly Shield game on at that time, and we'll be watching that. But we will be back on Sunday at 5 p.m. for Lockdown Beers and Rugby Chat.
And just before I go, just obviously with North Harbour, Auckland, and Auckland pretty much done and dusted for the season, that probably almost vacates it, almost pretty much puts me up for the season as well. I was hoping to get out and cover some of those games, so hopefully somewhere along the line I may get to see a Northern game if they have another home game after the Otago game, which is next Friday night. So I'll see how we go. So once again, just thank you to Paul's patrons out there for supporting the channel as well. I mean to say, just personally, Paul does a great job on the station here, and just to have this medium or something a little bit different is a fantastic thing. So stay with us.
Thank you, Stephen. And look, there is a small chance we still could have the Super City Cup that's between North Harbour, Auckland, and Counties Manukau, that Stephen could be the premier reporter for. We will have to wait and see on that one. It's all up in the air. We still have until before the end of November, and it only would take 3 weekends. So who knows? Who knows?